Productions.
I'm a man who believed that I died 20 years ago, and I live like a man who is dead already. I have no fear whatsoever of anybody or anything.
Gary Webb. I am an investigative journalist, and in 1996, I wrote a series of stories entitled Dark Alliance, which was about CIA involvement in drug trafficking.
Are you a man who once said death smiles at us all? All a man can do is smile back.
We've both been skull and bone, the secret society.
It's so secret we can't talk about it.
What does that mean for America? The conspiracy theorists are going to go on.
I'm sure they are. I don't know. I haven't seen the rest.
Number 322.
I have duty to report this afternoon that my friend and colleague, Tim Russert, collapsed and died early this afternoon.
I may die in this cell tonight or in the arena tomorrow. I am a slave. What possible difference can I make?
And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.
Get the fuck out of here, Jules. Let's fucking go. Another already dead. Welcome. Let's go. I'm joined as always by Austin Wade Picard, our perennial, perineum co-host. What's in the perineum? Isn't that what is that? Is that your taint? I think that's your taint.
Oh my taint.
Yes. So we're here together. We're here today. We're ready to do a lot of shit. If anything, we're have an abundance of stuff that we cover to go into today. I don't really know where we're going to go. That's kind of how this show goes. And then in the second half of the show, obviously, you can redirect us where you want us to go in the call-in portion.
You can literally come on the fucking show.
Yeah, exactly. And I will go ahead and warn you guys, there's a solid chance today's what are we calling them? Post-mortem or intermission is going to scare the hose. The hose will be scared off. There will be no hose after the intermission. So say goodbye to the hose. The hose will be scared and they will be gone. But I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. You guys will see when I get into it. Yeah. So you guys checked it out. Yeah. So,
dude,
what's up, Austin? Glad to be with you, bud.
Man, as always, I love you, brother. But seems like dark days ahead, demoralizing avalanche of just the news cycle in general, kind of as it goes, and as is typically the case. But dude, I don't know. At this point, it's kind of hilarious. I just I heard Ron Paul, and I just listened in for a moment, and I caught him talking about the national debt. Right, just for this year alone, and how this year alone, like the interest, like just the interest alone, is projected to exceed $1.1 trillion. Right, and it was just that, and then he mentioned the Congressional Budget Office estimating the federal deficit for just 2025 to be 2.5 trillion, and then he made this hilarious aside. He's like, "Thank God we didn't vote in those liberal progressives who want to bloat the budget, right?"
Yeah. And meanwhile, here we are. The extremists are the ones who want pre-COVID, which I don't know if you guys recall the kind of how we blew the fuck out of the budget back then. We just let's just go pre-COVID levels, and even with keeping entitlements kind of at the same levels. That's kind of what they're talking about, like pre-COVID, but with entitlements the same. So if anything, they would actually have the entitlements would stay untouched, and so they would actually have a larger percentage in a sense compared to the rest of the economy. But yeah, I mean, Oh no, but no, we got to keep on inflating. We can never go back. There never can be a pulling back of the government. They're going to be going forward. And it's wild how we almost were fooled for a moment, myself included. I was fooled for a moment. Just maybe, even in the slightest sense of the word, maybe there would be some sort of cutting. But even then, it's my understanding, I believe, that pretty much I think all the Doge stuff is getting voted out.
Yeah.
Is my understanding. I don't know what really stands from the Doge. It's kind of all that just seems in retrospect entirely performative. And I don't even mean just in the sense that if you look at the overall budget, it's still more. I just mean that like even those cuts don't even happen. Like even to the extent that like those aren't even happening.
Right.
So it's like, it's not even like, because we were always saying like, okay, cool, maybe we're getting these cuts, but it's like, all right, but look at everything else, look at this budget. You're like, but you're not even getting those cuts. So no, you're just getting fucked. You're just getting fucked every which way. Dicks everywhere, and no vaginas to be seen.
Oh man.
I don't know. That was a metaphor I went to. I don't know why.
People in the chat are reinforcing this myth, this rumor that I'm Jewish, bro. Come on now, Jules. No, I'm just fucking with you. No, but it is crazy though that meanwhile you have this extraordinary bloated budget. Clearly, we're increasing the spending, the military spending, at an unprecedented rate and level, and meanwhile we're bombing Somalia. We have boots on the ground in Taiwan. I mean, we're escalating in every single geopolitical proxy war that and
they
not
just
only
admitted to having 500 troops in at least 500 troops in Taiwan, which is. People may not realize how significant it is, but that's a big red line we just crossed there. Mm-hmm. So I mean, no one's surprised, but still,
no, not at all. And at the very same time, I think what is taking place in really and by the way, I have to say the reaction to the diplomats, the being assassinated in DC, like it's basically achieving what I was kind of in my worst nightmare and fear, of course, like being the case. But but yeah, it honestly it seems to be kind of reinforcing this spotlight on anti-Semitism being utilized as a tool in my mind to, of course, justify these First Amendment violations, right? These obvious infringements upon the First Amendment. And I think that, when you have the first initial reaction becoming where you have like the U.S. envoy saying that he had first of all, Trump had a conversation with Netanyahu right away, right after this all took place, obviously. And he instantly, according to apparently, he what he decided to do was he decided to basically recommit to uprooting violent anti-Semitism is what the term was apparently that was utilized in the course of the conversation. And the U.S. envoy himself then kind of confirmed this fact, right? And so even saying like we're not going to be intimidated by violence of those screaming on behalf of Palestine. And so I don't know. It's just, to me, you see that play out with Netanyahu, of course, and then guys like, Randy Fine, obviously.
Oh my God,
yeah. And but Netanyahu saying that what Free Palestine now means Heil Hitler.
Yeah.
Just like what?
So we may as well just embrace it, nigga. Heil Hitler. Is what I'm saying.
Exactly.
Yeah, just full on go for it. Why not? I mean, if anything, it was funny. I actually had a little bit of a rant this week about it. It's kind of like I never was really one to say Free Palestine, but now they've kind of made it feel in vogue for me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know about you, but to me, it's kind of, I feel like I almost wanted it. Like I signed off one of my tweets the other day with Free Palestine, and then I put below it NHH. So it's like Free Palestine, nigga, Heil Hitler. So for it's sure, like, man. But it's like, if anything, you're like, you make me want to lean into it more. And it's like, it's funny because I'm kind of like typically more associated with the right, people would probably say, and that's probably fair, at least, somewhat. And so it's like, you have me, typically someone who would, while I don't have a problem with lefties saying Free Palestine, it was something I don't use because it kind of comes off as it's funny enough, similar to genocide. And it's kind of the same thing they've done with genocide. They've taken it to where, like, it was a word I didn't really like using because it kind of has, like, mushy, lefty undertones to it almost, because it usually, let's be real, it gets used a lot. Like, oh, no, it's a trans genocide or whatever. But you've kind of made it to where it's in vogue with both these things where you're kind of like, for me, someone who would never really even want to say Free Palestine, here I am kind of like, you know what? I kind of think I could make this a rallying cry. You're kind of almost in a weird, fucked up way uniting us here. This was a word that I was kind of like given the ick by, but now, if anything, I'm more to rush to the aid of my lefty friends and go, no, fuck, there's nothing wrong with this fucking statement. I mean, obviously, it depends on what you mean by it. Like, if you mean, by that I mean murder all the Jews, like, okay, well, all right, that's a little ridiculous.
Right.
But there are plenty of ways to interpret something like Free Palestine without meaning any sort of genocidal intent towards Jews.
No doubt.
Like,
Oh yeah, it's and people in the context of the culture war. Again, it's like we always need to remind ourselves that our priorities should consistently be to smash these taboos once and for all, and
Yeah.
and of course move past them. As far as understanding intent is all that truly matters, and this is another reason why people are caught in the delusion, because they're caught in the deluge. They can't quite understand the reality as far as how the deception kind of really manifests, right? And I think that I don't know, when you have when it boils down to it, like and by the way, right, Kanye quitting anti-Semitism, what
Why
was
you
that?
quit on us, doggy?
Yeah, come on, bro. Right when we need you most. It's like was that before or after the Diddy choir, or I mean the A choir went to the Diddy Star in Hollywood and was like, "Did you see this?"
Was it the same exact choir, or was there's no way it was the same choir? It just probably was a different group of black guys, right?
I think it was it must have been. I don't think it was the same choir from
Okay.
that video. Yeah,
Because
but
that'd be insane if he's like, I'm about to pay like 50 black dudes a couple K each to come like hang out with me over at Diddy.
Right.
Dude, what the fuck, dude?
Sure.
But okay. Yeah, it is pretty wild though.
It is wild.
I think the most simplest explanation there is just that Diddy probably just has a tape or two on him. So like,
yeah,
I don't know.
perhaps.
It's
I mean,
it's so
obviously
bizarre. It feels so out of left field, the Diddy thing, because he's doing all this other shit, and then he's like, "But
Trying to
yeah,
get him
like
shut
free
down.
my nigga Diddy." And you're like,
Dude,
"What
on
the fuck's he
YouTube,
got on you?"
I saw some random video pop up on my feed on YouTube the other day of Diddy's 50th birthday party, and it was a trip, because yeah, it was Kanye, like it was everybody, you know what I mean? But it was very much like obvious, right, that how much things have changed since that moment. It's just kind of hilarious, and to see the production value of that video for his 50th birthday, it's like extraordinary. And but what caught my attention with these killings in DC with the diplomats, besides the timing of it all,
Yeah.
it seemed perfect timing in every single way, and it all came just as, in my mind, the theatrics of the political theater playing out in terms of a lot of these heads of state pivoting in their language, and as far as in how they are now demonizing and becoming dissenting voices in terms of the Gaza war. It's strange. It's very strange timing, because it seems like they've effectively achieved every last thing that they could possibly have intended to. But the point being is that you have this massive outcry, right? As far as following the Jewish diplomat's death in DC, and for this, basically the repeal of Section 230. Did you see that? Which I thought was, dude, this is crazy, because obviously this basically what they were saying is they wanted social media censorship laws, and there was a ADL video. Anti-Semitism becomes the justification, basically, once again, and it's interesting because this was who was it? It was David Goldenberg who's demanding this. It's so funny. But check this out. It's very interesting. It's all perfectly timed. This is why it's just so ridiculous to me, because you have, like, obviously the diplomats are targeted, and then instantly you have this call following the deaths, and Trump recommits to uprooting violent anti-Semitism, and then you have no coincidence whatsoever in my mind, as far as like the targeting of the European diplomatic delegation, right?
Oh yeah, that was
yeah.
wild. Yeah, I covered it in the morning show. They literally opened fire on. There was a couple shots. I mean, I watched the video, so it looked a little less dramatic than it was described in the video. But still, it's like you're shooting at fucking foreign diplomats. And then we had to kind of tie into that story. You know, that same kind of delegation. I believe it was France. I can't remember which member of the Knesset or cabinet or whatever was talking to. I believe it was one of France's peoples, and they were talking about like, hey, I guess it's being floated around this like kind of delegation, this group of countries. They're kind of considering the idea of recognizing Palestine as a state. And,
right.
just on their own. Obviously, that's just kind of, that doesn't mean it becomes magically a state, and that. But, and in return, the story became that they threatened to annex the West Bank.
They're like, all right, fuck it, we'll take more Palestinian territory if you make it a state then.
Yeah, you're like, dude,
Like,
what the
what?
fuck? Dude, we're
Like-
about to flip. I'm telling you, we were talking before, and I think you were kind of getting this a little bit. What I think the biggest thing that kind of caught me, and Jimmy Dore said it, and then I kind of went and started paying attention to Piers Morgan more. I watched a Jimmy Dore clip the other day, and he was saying, he was kind of like, hey, Piers Morgan has flipped. And Piers Morgan, I feel like, has kind of been the good weather vane for this. And Piers Morgan has flipped, and he's flipped hard. I watched a couple segments in the past couple days of his. Today, he had Normal Finkelstein and Benny Morris on. And dude, like, Benny Morris looked really bad by the end of that shit. And also, like, fucking, I can't think of his name. I just said Piers was surprisingly very much... I think he might have even straight up called it genocide. He was very strong in his language, and it's become, I don't know, I just feel like we're going to start, and you see these delegation things too, and Normal Finkelstein kind of in that little bit there where he's arguing Benny Morris, he goes into kind of what's going on with these other Western nations, like this group of countries that I'm talking about. And the way he's framing it is kind of like, hey, they're trying to scurry out of this as quick as they can, because they see where this is going. I mean, I don't know if we mentioned so far the concentration camps. I definitely have on the morning show. But they've straight up admitted multiple times that they're literally making concentration camps to guide these people to. And I think some of these Western nations see the writing on the wall, and they know where this is going. What happens when
were
you
those
take
the
this...
old Walmarts that they made the into FEMA camps?
That's a concentration camp right now. In
That's
Gaza.
what I'm saying. Yeah, so they did that shit like 10 years ago, right?
Max says this is the aid model. Max Blumenthal. This is
I
the
don't know if
aid
that's
model of apartheid.
I don't know if that's literally it, but it is the model, because I'm not sure if they've actually done it yet. And I don't know if that's like from something else. They're saying as an example, this is what they're doing. But either way, whether this is really it or what they're going to do, this is basically what they're doing. They're herding them into an area. They're via food. And what happens now when you have this incredibly concentrated area where they're camping out at a concentration camp? What happens now? I mean, Finkelstein brought up, I believe, there was a similar thing around the Nakba, I believe, around that time. There was some sort of group or something. I think one of them, there was a couple riots where, people herd into a small area. All it takes is, now you have this concentration camp, a couple, people hit a guard, a couple shots ring out, and now what happens? A few thousand dead. Like, how does this play out? You know what I mean? Like, I think that's kind of what we're seeing. We're seeing the media people start to flip. I would suspect, keep an eye out. I bet you like the characters like the Tim Pools of the world will start really, being like, finding a way to try to offload and stuff. So we'll see. I mean, and we're seeing that, I think, with the Western nations, as I mentioned, some of them. So, and I really, really think, I'm starting to think that, I really think this is a big one. And I think, but does that mean I think Gaza's saved? No. I think I don't know. We're in a weird timing thing. But I think in the next 10, 15 years, I'm really been kind of thinking about it. I think Israel might be done. I mean, maybe they've exceeded their usefulness. I don't know if it's going to shift to Ukraine. I don't know what.
I think
I'm not saying they're going to see the light and become good guys. They're just going to do the shell game and some other thing be the fucking, you know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of, I think it's almost like the jig is up, like we got to shuffle things around. Like, that's how I see it.
We got some folks backstage. I know it's not that time yet, but I figured if you wanted to mention it.
Okay, how stoned are you, Jules? All right.
No, I think that Itamar
Not at all.
Ben-Gvir, right, is clearly going to replace Netanyahu.
Mhm.
He's in my mind, he's even more of a radical and a radical settler, and even potentially, and he's viewed as like a deity
Yeah,
in the
I
minds
don't
of the
disagree with
suburbs.
you. I just think they're about to become a pariah state. I mean, like not maybe not in the next like 5 years, but next 10 years. I think they're hollowed out, and I think that's just. I mean, I just really feel like with the way he's going now, I think there's a good chance they may end up. And by that, when I'm saying this, I think there's kind of a dark undertone here because I think there may be a big event or events that end up occurring at some point, and then it just becomes one of those things that you're kind of left with holding the narrative bag and there's no escaping this one. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Something really fucked. It's like something really
right.
big. So, and I kind of see that we could possibly see that. I hope I'm wrong. So,
I
although I guess
mean,
that kind of leads to Israel maintaining their stranglehold, but it's kind of
right.
like them overplaying their hand will make them the pariah state, but they will likely get what they want. But in the process, they will lose their allies, I think. But
They've
is
already
that going to be
lost.
okay with them? They've kind of already got what they want. I don't know. I don't know what happens at that point. We've also kind of hollowed ourselves out from over decades of fighting their fucking wars. So it's kind of like for a parasite, they did a pretty good, goddamn good job and got the most out of the host, if that's what they're left with at the end, So
Yeah, for sure. But
yeah,
I'm definitely I'm more concerned. There's just as far as like Netanyahu himself just said last week that Trump's he literally said himself, Trump's ethnic cleansing plan is
yeah.
the condition to end the Gaza war. And
I'm starting to think that's why we're hearing a lot of these rifts thing. I really think they're trying to squirm in whatever way they can to try to find whatever Whoa, what just happened? Okay, that was a lot at once. I just
I just
think,
wanted
and
to share
not
this
to
with
say
y'all.
that they're going to become good guys all of a sudden,
I
or they're
saw
even
that
going to flip entirely. But it's like, and
report.
obviously, I think there's some leverage being held over the people, whether it's them diddling kids or what. But they're doing what they can, squirming where they can, applying whatever leverage they can. Because I do think our administration might be kind of maybe sensing out, oh shit, maybe what some of these other Western countries are feeling that, oh no, we might be left with like a fucking the worst of all fucking hot potatoes left in our lap. And
right.
what do we do at that point? I don't really know what the world looks like after that. That's a yeah,
You saw, I yeah, it's hard to predict, but I will say
yeah,
that I know that Randy Thick.
yeah.
Super. He
Fucking
says, there is no suffering. There is no suffering adequate enough. I can't read, guys. I'm
there's no
sorry.
suffering adequate for these
There we
animals.
go.
May the streets of Gaza overflow with blood.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the dude that yeah, it's just so crazy the language that they've been willing to use. It's genocidal language, like in every way, in every aspect of it's
He's
just
huge.
oh yeah, for sure, buddy.
Mhm.
I'll
And
pull that back up for you.
oh, thank you. But I think it's crazy too that it was today. It was reported that Israel invaded southern Lebanon, right? So I
Mhm.
think once again violating the ceasefire agreement, which is what they typically do. This is par for the course. But
Yep.
yeah, let's watch this dude real quick.
Real quick, you heard that that there was a deal that they had recently that fell through, right? That was just reported, I think, today. I covered it on the show. They had a
The hostage
70-day ceasefire. Essentially Hamas was under the understanding that they
Yeah,
had
yeah, it was
it
like
completely
60 days.
secured.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, it was 70. Apparently, Israel initially wanted 60. I mean, it's kind of I don't know. I don't know how to interpret that. It's either Israel's completely wasting everybody's time, but they
Well,
actually
Israel
shows they
rejected it,
haggled.
though,
Yeah,
right?
they were
Yeah.
engaged in it. They were haggling because if you read the story, you kind of see they were going back and forth. But it's also like obviously at the end they spiked it, so it's like it seems like, are you just trying to waste everybody's time, or are you actually willing to come to the table? I don't know how to interpret that one yet.
And I,
So
I honestly think most of this is political theater because they
yeah,
understand the optics. They're committing a genocide, man.
yeah,
Like, how could you not understand the optics of that? How could you not even realize
yeah,
that you are even hearing dissenting voices on your own base now more than ever? And that's
yeah,
going to consistently continue to increase naturally. You would have to get out in front of that.
yeah,
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like, I don't know. I'm not going to, again, every single time kind of like imagine that they're acting in good faith when every single time they've proven they're acting in
no,
bad
yeah.
faith. You know what I mean? It's
Judge
Yeah,
like,
them by
no,
their
it's like
fruits,
a
dude. Judge them by
like
their fruits.
like when I was
Like-
saying earlier about like maybe they'll do this or maybe they'll do that. Never is it really because I'm like, oh, because they're the good guy. It's like the idea of to kind of go back to Ben or Finkelstein and Benny Morris were arguing today and about kind of like the idea of genocide and the tired old, oh well, if they were going to genocide they would have done this and point to this example of them not doing this and that example, and then Finkelstein's like, no, what you're seeing is politics. Like that, like this is the idea that like, yes, if you can be carrying on a genocide and have differing levels at differing times because you are engaging in politics and you live in the real world and you're trying to navigate this to get what you want at the same time. So like it's so yes, you realize that there are going to be people that perceive what you're doing in certain ways, so you're going to behave in certain ways. In the same way, when people point the same thing that Hitler supposedly did at certain times, and people always go, "Oh my God, you're saying he's the good guy," or I'm like, no, we're just saying the same exact thing we're saying here, that they recognize the political reality of the world and have to navigate within that, and at certain times they may be louder and prouder or being more obvious in their actions in regards to genocide or whatever, mass murder or whatever the fuck you want to call it,
yeah, I read a crazy piece. It was originally published on Middle East Eye, and then it was like it was either paywalled or something happened to its original publication, but either way you can still find it. It was by Jonathan Cook. It's very interesting. It was talking about basically ignoring Keir Starmer's theatrics, and Gaza's trail of blood leads straight to his door. But it didn't only focus and prioritize the UK commitment to this kind of pivot in the optics, in the narrative, in the kind of way that the language that they're using, and the way that it was described was essentially this is all self-serving and entirely coordinated deception with Israel, and that all of these heads of state essentially pivoted in the same exact moment. Then the Israeli diplomats get shot. It's very strange timing, and then the diplomatic delegation is fired upon. It's all very interesting. I don't know to what level.
Yeah, I don't.
This
Yeah,
is
it
right.
does seem like things are going on that we don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
Like it does feel like all the timing of all the different events, everything's coming to a head right now. I mean, I guess I joke all the time about nothing ever happening, but it's like I don't know. I think it was funny. I don't remember what the last time it was when I was like, "Oh, something's gonna happen," and I don't think it did. I forget, but it's like I don't know. This might be one of those moments. Something happens. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And by the way, dude, I didn't know this, but I saw that Iran. This is in the middle of allegedly the negotiations are going well, and right.
Yeah, that's
And
what we're saying.
that would be awesome. I hope so,
Yeah.
but I'm very much skeptical. And
It's bizarre because with these ongoing negotiations, Iran, the constant theme you keep seeing from each time you hear sources from both sides is things are going great, things are going great. Our side goes absolutely no, nuclear enrichment, and then they go, that's absolutely a red line. We're going to have nuclear enrichment, but while at the same time saying talks are going great, we're doing great, we're getting there, and you're like, what is going on here?
Nothing's changing. Exactly. What are you talking about? But what is so crazy to me that I saw was this new report. This came out yesterday about how Iran and China are launching this new commercial railway bypassing U.S. sanctions. Now, I felt like that emboldens Iran on the negotiating table as far as using, I don't know, bartering chips, whatever the case may be, in terms of having a little bit more on your end to negotiate with. It's very interesting because this, of course, falls perfectly in line with Iran being part of this China's One Belt Road initiative, which is in order to reestablish these trade routes. And in my mind, I think Germany as well was driven into the arms of China and Russia as well in many ways. And it's very interesting how that played out, because it seemed like you have Germany pretty much, geopolitically speaking, we're seeing like a continuation of the Belt and Road. Obviously, the same goes for Germany, and I
Mhm.
think this is simultaneously they're being demonized, right, in all of Europe for being dependent on Russian gas, causing what's been described as the loss of German influence in Europe, leaving them further isolated from the EU, and especially since the start of the war in Ukraine, which I thought was crazy. And it, the German chancellor just coming out, right, like we mentioned privately, and announcing that there are no longer any restrictions on Ukraine's use of Western provided weapons and strikes
Yep.
on territory. Like,
Which
what
it's
the
it's the difference of to go into that real quick. I guess essentially this is allowing them to use other weapons from other Western countries, and
Yeah.
this is going to enable Ukraine to the most they've been able to. I forget who they were getting these missiles from before, but they had certain missiles, or maybe they're their own. I think they were able to get like a little bit short of 150 miles, so they were able to get 150 miles. They had certain weapons that could reach that far into it, but
Right.
then we got. Now that's over 300, so it over doubled their range to be able to touch inside of Russia
Crazy.
via this. And yeah, I mean, I should have probably covered that story today, but yeah,
Mhm.
I did. I remember reading it, and it's yeah, it's something. So,
It's nuts, right?
yeah.
I heard it put in the
Oh,
terms
and
of,
we didn't mention the drone thing yet, have we?
oh no, I'm
Yeah, so did the
excited.
drone
Oh,
thing, and
dude,
then also I mentioned on my
yeah.
morning show. Also, there was the True Social tweet that or that Trump put out that was talking mad shit about Putin all at the same
Oh yeah.
time. And the funny thing is, he was accusing them of like drone attacks in Ukraine, and it was really bizarre. It was like, wow, like, do you not? I mean, and then you said you found a fucking video of his
Yeah, I got
response
one.
when told about that. I
Almost
didn't
done.
realize he
I'll pull
basically
it up.
pulled the Ruth Bader Ginsburg on it. Like, oh
It's
wow,
so funny.
and you're like,
It's
dude.
so
Meanwhile, I mean, I guess it's believable that he was just that stupid, but like,
Well, people
maybe
are
he had
keeping him
some
in the
aid.
dark,
Yeah, he probably
legitimately.
had some aid tell him, hey, you should say this. Make sure to mention drones. Wink,
Yeah,
wink, and not telling him that like, oh, he did get hit by a drone attack, and
right.
now you're saying stuff about drones in this tweet. Obviously, a veiled threat without
Could
him
you
even knowing.
imagine?
You know what I mean?
Could you imagine being the leader of the free world, right? You're supposed to be
Yeah.
read in on these geopolitical conflicts, and you're wondering why are these drone attacks popping off between Zelensky and Putin?
Hmm.
Like, it's not making any sense to you whatsoever. You're getting upset because you're
Yeah.
like, Putin, we're in the middle of negotiations and you're bombing Ukraine, right? And it was very hilarious as far as witnessing. But I'll pull it up real quick. But the main thing that I wanted to say before I lost my train of thought was that I had recently heard it put into the terms of, it was interesting. It was described as like Poland being essentially the military, basically militarily, it's the strategic epicenter of like basically what was Honduras during Operation Condor, right? And these stay behind networks of strategy of tension, destabilization, right? Basically, that they are saying that Poland is basically the base of operations where all these mercenary groups and these interesting kill squads are all being formed and then sent into Ukraine and into areas of Russian territory to essentially wreak havoc, which is this is the playbook that they've utilized for how very long. I mean, it's
So
like,
now Germany is going to invade Poland so they can get their energy back. That's what's going to happen, right? We're going to replay this history all over
yeah,
again.
honestly, like, what is happening? Like, it's so crazy to me that China now like now. Here's another thing that is a new factor playing out that I need to learn more about, which is the newly announced chancellor, which is I think it was May 6th that he took control in
And where's this
Germany.
at? Oh,
In
Germany. Okay,
Germany,
yeah.
yeah,
Is it
and
what Starner over what Canada? And that Starner in Canada, the Bank of London guy or
oh
whatever?
yeah,
Or
yeah,
no, yeah.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
mean, it's like we got that guy who's like that's like you're literally the right hand man or one of was it the Rothschilds' right hand man type deal.
Right.
Like that's like you are in the upper echelon, the tippy top. Like you get the coolest at the mass at the weird sex parties.
Yeah,
Like yeah, like like you don't get just the stock one they give everybody. Like you're like, oh my god, you remember when we saw the horned goat? Like you're the one who has like some
right.
sort of cool name that people remember. You know what I mean? Like he's the
Mhm.
bull or something.
Oh, dude.
Like yeah, like he's he's front and center at those weird parties.
Right.
Yeah,
And
he's on
you
the
know-
balcony as you come in, with them standing above you, looking judgmental.
Yeah,
with a
right.
mask, you know.
This is crazy too. I didn't know that the ambassador to Poland, the U.S. ambassador to Poland, is Zbigniew Brzezinski's son. You're like, how's all this happening? The Epstein affiliated Israeli prime ministers. It's like, what? I don't know. It's just like absolutely crazy to me, as far as so many of these various connections that fall perfectly into place and obviously are conflicts of interest, right? So I don't know, but I'll pull that up really quickly because it is
Yeah,
interesting.
that
But
is-
I
that
do
is-
think that we need to quickly. I brought this up for a reason. This is crazy, and this we don't need UK free, censorship as far as like
Yeah.
social media censorship like that. This is legitimately being utilized as a tool, no doubt.
Mhm.
It's and I think as far as like
What did I say was the next thing was going to happen? I've been saying it for a minute. If
Right.
anything, I've been like, I've starting to get a little bit like, oh shit, I think I might not be wrong, and like, I'm not happy about it, but like, I got it. So here
Right.
you go. That's what I've been saying. They're gonna crack down the J stuff. Follow me on Rumble, guys. So,
Hey,
although
there's a
Rumble's
comment
fucked
that
up.
I figured y'all probably want to see.
Look into the HJ
the-
resolution
the-
where
the
we
Noahide
voting on
laws.
hand jobs. What are we doing?
Oh, and I should correct
Oh.
myself.
Heard
of the
Zbigniew
Noahide laws,
Brzezinski's
dude?
son. So Zbigniew Brzezinski obviously wasn't the prime minister, just obviously very close to the prime minister, and clearly he was affiliated with Epstein. So it's very important to understand. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's the only point to the ambassadorship to Poland I wanted to make. But what comment did you have to bring up, bro?
Who, me?
Jules,
Oh, Jules.
did you say you
Just
want to
talking
bring
about the
up
Noahide laws.
Oh.
I don't even remember anything about that. Have you heard anything about that yet? I didn't hear anything about Noahide laws.
I mean, I
I've seen the chat talking
wouldn't
about
be
it a couple
surprised if
times.
they tried to enact them.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
man.
like and then like the Noahide laws are essentially what? They're basically, every accusation's whatever. There's another like they're fucking.
These
The Noahide
7
laws are the
laws
rules for
that
goys
the
or some
goyim
shit
have
or
to
whatever.
follow, or
Yeah.
you
that's
get
what it is.
decapitated.
Or you get to
Dude.
Yeah,
You see this?
that's the punishment for not following the Noahide laws, decapitation. And they're like, "Oh, that's in ancient times." You're like, "No, you want to do that to us now?
Yeah.
You're already taking our foreskins, decapitating those." So
And then they make whips out of them and beat us with them.
Dude, look at the very beginning of this just because it's crazy. So
Yeah,
you
the
have
poll, dude.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, dude. This
you
is
have a
wild
new
one.
poll. This
Like,
was found out.
How
at
do
Penn
you break
State.
this poll down without not sounding like a crazy? Like, even I've been covering this show and be like, "Hey guys, don't forget when we say that 87% say we want to take their children and beat their heads
That's
against
what I'm
rocks. That means
saying.
18% don't say they want to do that. So don't forget about that. Don't forget about those guys.
You have to.
they're the good ones.
Don't
That's
forget
so
they
funny.
exist." Because I'm like, oh my god, holy shit! Look at these polls.
Here,
I'm trying to
here we
like
go.
tamper down the
Noahide
anti-Semitism
laws
that's
were
coming.
given to Noah for all of humanity, including the Jews. Okay, thank you, Xerox.
That's what I've heard, yeah. But I mean, even then, I think but even then, it's kind of that's a Jew trick, from my understanding. It's like I believe
They're
that's like
trying to
yeah,
just
but we
enact-
have our
yeah.
different ones or something. I don't fucking know.
Give them to
Whatever.
us.
I don't care. Whatever.
I'm not surprised. But check
So-
this out, right?
Yeah.
It was found that 82% of Israelis support the ethnic cleansing of Gaza, coinciding with obviously the ongoing effort. And so then you have this a new poll as well, right? As far as this interesting question that was asked, whether the Israeli army should act in accordance with the biblical story of the Israelites and their eradication of all of Jericho's inhabitants during the conquest of the city.
Yep.
47% of Israelis responded yes, that's fascinating. And then you have 65.
Real quick to back up the Amalek thing, the thing I was talking about, where I was like sort of goofing about beating their children's head against a rock.
Dude.
That is from a verse
That-
in reference to Amalek.
Yeah.
Like that is
Yeah, it's
literally you will
absolute.
dash the child of your
Oh, yeah.
enemy against a rock. Like that's literally
And you'll like it,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
can't remember if it's this one
disturbing
too.
stuff.
This might be the one too, where after they were supposed to kill any unclean women or any women who had been who weren't virgins. And then the fucked up part of that's like, how do you check? You're like, well, okay, cool. Now you're taking all of this entire group of people, essentially checking them for hymens, and then murdering them if they don't have a hymen. You're like, which that's not really for one, a scientific way of telling if someone's a virgin or not, but also not a very good method just to determine if you want to murder someone.
Right.
Pretty traumatizing.
Oh my God.
Pretty fucked up to do if you don't say. So
Right.
that's what they want to do to the Palestinians. About what is it? 90? No. It said
65% of the respondents also believe that there is a contemporary incarnation of Amalek, which means the Palestinians.
Yeah.
93% of the 65% that the commandment. So 93% of that 65% claim that the commandment to wipe out the memory of Amalek is also relevant to that modern day Amalek. So that is the Palestinian. So, yeah, that's just that's the mindset that we're dealing with here. And
did you see that parade they had? That they just recently got a little rowdy. They had a parade that I guess annually. I guess they do this parade in.
I had it pulled up.
Soccer hooligans.
No,
I had it pulled up and prepared, brother.
Oh no, it's the Jews. Never mind. I thought you were talking about
it's this one though. It's this one.
May your village burn. They chanted.
Yeah, it's just. But I just thought it was which. I didn't really get. It wasn't too.
Play the video.
I mean, obviously that's saucy.
Yeah, I'll play the beginning. It's not very long. The beginning that gets to the point that we need. It's only like a couple minutes.
Particularly, real quick, the thing I find interesting about it is that just what this thing is in general. It's one thing. Okay, it's whatever. They have a parade, and they say mean stuff. Okay, I mean, it's kind of like I kind of roll my eyes when I see it a little bit because I mean I've seen that in our country, but when you find out what the parade even is in the first place, you're like, what the fuck? This is an annual parade they have to celebrate them taking over that area. Yeah. So it's literally them.
Who was there?
Exactly. It's this area.
Itamar Ben-Gvir was there.
Yeah.
Like what? That dude, could you imagine? Like that is a head of state basically going down at the forefront on the front lines of this raid, of the Al-Aqsa, essentially.
I genuinely think there's a solid chance they're going to get ready to go full genocide. And obviously I know like they already kind of are, but like in a there's no ifs, ands, or buts. They're going full on dark Israel, fucking pariah state, but yet get everything they want. Yeah, because then you have Netanyahu gets booted out. They get their genocide. They have this new guy Ben-Gvir come in. They get to fully embrace the dark side, and they become a pariah state. And then they kind of lose all their allies, but they get everything they want. They have greater Israel. What the fuck are we gonna do about it now?
Right.
Like
it's kind of it's almost like in many. It's not at all a direct comparison, but Syria is now open for business, right? So it's crazy how they can use these kind of like just again can kind of shift the narrative. I mean, you just put the head of Al-Qaeda in a regime change operation in charge of a nation that you've been attempting to overthrow for how long, and now they're open for business to the West, and they'll clearly be utilized in this effort to consistently ratchet up the tensions whenever necessary for these various geopolitical conflicts and proxy wars that are playing out at every turn. So, but yeah, check out the beginning of this because it is crazy.
Rapper NBA YoungBoy.
Sorry.
I don't know.
They had to do me like that.
Yeah.
All right.
Always every fucking
the NBA YoungBoy too. Come on now.
Yeah.
Son of a
All
bitch.
right, yeah, it's
oh yeah, and by the way, dude, did you see that? I just thought it was hilarious that, of course, you had. Oh, never mind. Hold on.
A village in the southeast. Israeli settlers have attacked a village in the southeast of Bethlehem. They set fire to Palestinian homes and assaulted residents. It's the second attack on the village in 3 days. Settler violence in the occupied West Bank has increased since the war in Gaza began. Well, this comes as thousands of right-wing Israelis are marching through occupied East Jerusalem, celebrating Israel's occupation of the city in 1967 following the Six-Day War. They are making their way through Palestinian neighborhoods, chanting death to Arabs, as well as anti-Islamic slogans. Police forces were dispatched in advance as the settlers regularly assault and harass Palestinians in the Muslim quarter. They have also stormed the headquarters of the agency UNRWA in the neighborhood of Sheikh Jarrah a little earlier today. Also earlier this Monday, more than 1,500 far-right Israelis forced their way into the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound. The National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir and other Israeli far-right ministers were in that group. Jordan's foreign ministry has strongly condemned the intrusion, saying that it is a deliberate provocation.
Mhm. That was basically it,
Chicken.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay, we have in
That was basically it. It is crazy, though. I mean, you just have this consistent theme that's playing out, right? They consistently just continue to ratchet up these tensions and kind of like it. I don't know. You just clearly, when you're smearing it in the faces of like you're basically while the pivot takes place, as you mentioned, right? You have this ridiculous kind of attempt by the West or by the let's say the European leaders who are attempting to kind of distance themselves for optics reasons, but also claiming that they're now going to identify and acknowledge a Palestinian state, as you mentioned before, and their reaction, right? It's just once again you're kind of twisting that knife, right? So I don't know. I'm just always feeling like what was the number one thing that was going viral yesterday, basically, in terms of this conflict was that little child being burned alive, essentially, even though at least she survived technically,
Okay,
right?
yeah, I was gonna say, no, she survived.
the rest
yeah,
of her
that
family
was
died.
awful photo. Yeah. Or
Yeah.
video. The one you could see her silhouette coming out of the fire. No,
Terrible,
there were
man.
some real tear jerker stories, and there was one. God, was it one family? If this is almost like so over the top, you're like, come on, this one's got to be like what the Israelis almost always say when it's some made up crazy shit. There was one story of a mother and father, both doctors. The mother was on shift, the father was not. They got attacked. I think they had 9 children from the ages of like 7 months to 12, and I believe all of them but one died. The 11-year-old. And the father survived, and the mother was working the shift at the hospital where they came in.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Jesus.
8 of her children and her husband and her son, that survived. So basically lost. It was just insane. I mean, there were some other there was a lot of just insane stories, bombing bombing the aid workers and stuff.
Mhm.
Just,
That's
I
some
mean,
sick
it's
shit, man. Yeah.
Telling you, man.
Intentional evil.
Yeah.
Yeah, and whenever they launched Gideon's Chariots, right? Like they killed 5 journalists and over 100 civilians in one night, right? Like that was how they began Gideon's Chariots, which it's just disgusting, but it's further ethnic cleansing, which obviously Trump himself, in my mind, and Netanyahu claims is the case, obviously. Ethnic cleansing was the plan, right? A condition to end the Gaza war. So,
yeah. Well,
I don't know. You can, yeah.
Oh, sorry,
go
I didn't
ahead.
mean to cut you off. I thought you were about to pause. But it's about that time, I think. Take a little bit of a break. Got a little hot and heavy. I see a few of you guys back there in the behind the scenes. Now, Jules is about to drop the link. He's going to put that on his Twitter. He's going to drop it on his Twitter at Graypill with an E, because I guess he's a Brit or something. And
Anglo.
then he's going to, then it'll also be on basically damn near all the chats that you're on. He'll be dropping them in all of them. So keep an eye out. Look for that link if you want to hop in. Obviously, if you're a patron or me or Austin, you get priority. So the ones that are in there already.
Headless, come on.
Yeah, so I see a Jacob from Rise of Liberty back there. I'm assuming you probably want to come on. Assuming we'll probably start with him. Now, Jules, if you want to talk to them in the back while we, in their intermission, figure out who wants to come on, all that. But yeah, we're getting ready to go into the call-in portion. So guys, join us. We're going to take a little bit of a break, take a breather, go get a drink, whatever. And we're about to scare off all the hoes. This will be fun. So yeah, we'll see you guys in a minute.
Top Lobster Productions.
Yeah, and it looks like this is, damn, this he very much was like basically a puppet president during all this. Right to X, Y, blah, 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 like saying like this is your position. And it sounds like he's saying, oh, you have the right to like essentially rape kids or whatever. You're like, whoa, dude.
I mean, it's AI, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of like trying to tell you if it's the.
Hey,
if the
Grok,
face
is
matches
this
the
that
name.
nigga?
It's going to be hard to tell. What's the problem, I tell you. I was under the impression that no one wanted to come up, or I would have already brought somebody up. Sorry, Jose.
Yeah, there's a bunch of people back there. No, you're good. You failed us, Jules. I just want to let the audience know. All right, what's up, guys? We're back. Where the fuck is Oh, there's Jules. I mixed him up with others.
Banger,
all right.
Tim.
Yeah, it's a good one. I dig it. All right. Oh wait, what am I doing? I forgot. No, we let you back for this.
I'm a part of this.
Oh, what is going
he's a
on? I'm
part of
fucking
this
with. There we
thing.
go. All right, playing with a different. All right, cool. I got you back. All right, Jules. Don't forget. I know you're gonna scream, but don't get too excited. Don't forget your role to manage these people in the back. Say who wants to come on. I see a few people back there. I see someone back there. A new one. I don't know if that. I don't think it's a patron though. So
he's from the Occult.
No, he can come
Rejects
on.
podcast.
I'm just saying the other ones get first dibs. So
He's from the Occult Rejects podcast.
But to be fair, none of the other fucks said shit. So, you know, I know they get priority, but they got to speak up. And no one said shit in the private chat. So let's go ahead and bring him up first. Yeah, fuck it. Let's do it, Jules. What's up, dude?
How's it going, man?
What is up? I kept seeing people in the chat wanting you to come on for something. I don't know. It's hard to keep track of all the chat. But I did see a few people want to bring you on for something. So what's up, man? Introduce yourself. They said you're what, Occult Rejects, one of those guys, one of that crew or something?
I go on the Occult Rejects all the time, and I also have my own show at the Headless Giant. You can find me on X and YouTube. And so what we're talking about tonight, I mean, come on. What are we looking at? This is like the convocation of all of these different forces, biblical forces, political forces, all the rest of this stuff. I mean, it seems like the whole book was just self-fulfilling prophecy at this point, you know?
Oh yeah, that's what I say constantly, man.
Yeah, self-fulfilling. That's for sure. That's
Manufactured
the
false
key term there.
prophecy.
Yeah.
It feels like in many ways, though. I feel like the state has exploited and leveraged a lot of these ideological prisons for themselves, and most people just seem too naive and well conditioned to be able to sift through and kind of like navigate those waters, right? I think it's a difficult prospect for many people, and that I think more than ever, you know, I've kind of embraced this mentality that obviously, like, I'm not here to change anyone's mind. I'm only here to kind of like present ideas that have changed my mind and conceptually helped influence me in what I feel like is the proper direction, and provided more of a moral framework and, you know, just worthwhile ethical values that I could identify for myself. You know, I think all of those factors, Jules, you bastard, dude. All those factors, I think, should be just, you know, honestly spotlighted and considered, and as far as the way that people seem to fall into the traps that we discuss so very often, you know, and that's where I kind of, I don't know, I get frustrated, right? Like we discussed the at the beginning of the episode tonight, like what we discussed, the national deficit.
Yeah,
you know, and it's like, what are we doing? You know, we just consistently go in the same exact direction as if anything has changed whatsoever.
No, they just get together, vote to raise the debt ceiling every so often. That's about it. They act like they did something. But I mean, if you don't really think about the concept of what a debt ceiling is, it's like the idea that they're coming together to raise the debt every time. It's like, it's just literally just a bunch of big old circle jerk. You're like, you shouldn't even be doing this. So you've like, the way you frame this is that like, it's like, oh, well, we've argued over this. So it's like, hey, shows how important, how serious we're taking this, you know?
For real.
Have you ever researched the form of government they had in Carthage?
Oh man, I've researched Carthage, but I can't like recall like the actual structured state, but I do know that they committed child ritual sacrifice very often.
They had a form of government called oligarchic republican. So it was oligarchy and a republic.
Hilarious.
Does that sound familiar?
No,
Yeah,
unique government structure, and one of a kind. Never one, you know, one. Just unique time, and you know that was back then. You know, before the church maybe or whatever. You know, I don't know, and they don't do that anymore.
They're right.
So what makes these Carthaginians really significant to history is how far back they go and how quickly they kind of just went away, right? So they used to be, before they were Canaanite Phoenicians, the Carthaginians. You know, they came over from Tyre, Sidon, and Byblos. Before that, they were the Minoans. And when they were Minoans, they had trade routes going from England all the way down to the Mediterranean for the tin that they found in England.
Interesting.
And also in the Bronze Age, they had to get the bronze, or they had to get the copper from Michigan. Strangely enough. So these guys were heavily connected back then. That's where we get our alphabet. And so if we think that they kind of just went away and didn't just transform into something else, because I guess they wanted to not have the problem of the Roman Empire, which I guess they did a good job of getting rid of that. They kind of had to change and morph into something.
Isn't the lore that they were the descendants of one of the, essentially one of the tribes of Israel? Like, because that's one of the things you get into the entomology and kind of like, or not the entomology, but the kind of tracking who moves. Yeah, exactly. There you go. Yeah.
All the tribes of Israel are Canaanite Phoenician. They have the same blood types and everything. Like, there's no difference.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm getting at. That like, that like when we look at the evil suit, like whatever Phoenicians and the whatever, like, you're talking about like what became of the tribes of Israel. Like that's what we're talking about.
They were the only other tribe in that vicinity that circumcised. So it was only the Hebrews and the Canaanites, and everybody else thought it was weird as shit. Why were they circumcising? They didn't have a covenant with God.
What were they doing with those foreskins?
Right. Where did they hide the foreskins? That's
what do you make of the Christian identity movement and kind of like the notion that many of the, like, let's say even Vicky and Randy Weaver, they seem to embrace an ideology where they believe that they were the true Israelites,
Yeah.
and that it actually, you know,
It's like
the
every
modern,
other
Same
fucking
with
weird
David
religion.
Koresh, though, right?
yeah, very similar.
Yeah. He thought he was Jesus.
It's like every
All
other
of the
weird
cults.
upstart. Yeah,
All
all the
of the
cults.
cults.
Yeah, all of them. Oh, we're the real Israelites. That's what it's always about. Yeah.
So strange. Yeah,
Yeah, I
we
mean,
are
hell,
the lost tribes of Israel.
even
essentially.
Israel. That's their whole.
Yeah.
We're the real Israelites. Like that's.
Yeah,
what,
you're
even
right,
though
yeah.
they're- dude, you're a bunch of fucking Europeans.
And it's genetic too.
He was Israel.
We have a Jew gene.
All you have to do is just dig into a little bit of the, anthropology, and you find out none of that stuff in the Bible is accurate to any kind of timeline at all. And so if you look at the intertestamental period, you really find the motivation for why they wrote this thing. And that was the book of Maccabees, 1 and 2. And this was their way of establishing a new identity because they had been oppressed by the Greeks, by the Romans, and everybody else. So they wanted to have a new thing. And so they didn't really have temple Judaism the way that we think of it. And we can see that in the Diodorus, for example. So a Diodorus, he's documenting the life of this guy, Epiphanes, right? And Epiphanes is the emperor of the Seleucidian Empire right there. And he goes down, he's having war with Alexandria, right, in Egypt. Rome steps in and says, you can't take Alexandria. We're cutting you off. So he's pissed off. He comes back home, and it turns out the Jews there had started slaughtering the Hellenized Jews, which he put in charge because he didn't like the way that they hated their neighbors. Well, when he saw that they were, about to sacrifice some Greeks, he went in there with a bunch of pig's blood, and he sprays it all over the goddamn place. And he says, I am going to destroy every document that makes you hate your neighbors. Does that sound familiar? Well, he completely destroys the temple, but Diodorus includes something that the people in Maccabees don't. He includes what was inside the temple. And you've got this golden donkey head. And this golden donkey head is pretty significant because in the first graffitos that you see of Jesus Christ, he's wearing a donkey head.
Wow.
And there's something else. Moses was on a big donkey inside the temple too, but this donkey was
Christ rides
Right.
into
on a donkey.
We
town
got
on
that
a
stupid
donkey,
ass story in the Old Testament about a talking donkey. I don't know if that's related at all, but like, maybe there's
Yes,
got to be
it is.
some sort of significance of a fucking talking donkey.
What is the donkey god in Egypt?
I don't know.
The donkey
It's
god.
Set.
Yeah,
And what
no
is
way,
the
no
shit?
way.
Okay.
It's the third
No
son of
way,
Adam
brother.
and Eve.
That's hilarious.
We've been talking about the Temple of Set for like
Third
the past
son.
month. So
What's the third son of Adam and Eve? What's his
Seth.
name? Do you guys Seth, which is
That's
Greek for
hilarious.
Seth,
for Set,
Right,
right.
and they're the line of Seth.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Oh
admitting
my
it.
God.
This is why you say Amen at the end of your prayers, because it's Amon. It comes from Egypt. All that stuff comes from Egypt, and
Right.
it's not the good side of Egypt. Look at what they did to the Egyptians in the plagues, right?
Mhm.
That's Set directly imposing his will on the disobedient Egyptians.
Yeah, I mean, I just had a little bit of a rant this morning in my morning show. It's like I'm not Christian, so like I know there's different ways. There's Gnostic Christians, so it's like I don't know. I don't know if that's what you guys are. I know it's kind of what Jules is. I'll be honest, but it kind of seems a little convenient to me. That's kind of the way I see it. We're like, okay, but at least it is kind of an easy, like, okay, it is one of the things that as an agnostic atheist or whatever you want to call me, it's kind of like you look at Christianity and you're like, yeah, but like I grew up in the church. I'm like, I know what they did in the Old Testament. It's like, I don't know how you square that circle there. And they go, oh, evil God. And I'm like, okay, all right, whatever. That seems pretty fucking convenient, but okay, whatever. I'll take that. That does solve that problem. I guess then it just comes to the say what?
There's many different gods throughout the Old Testament, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, what is Elohim?
Satan's as well,
Isn't Elohim actually like the combining of two separate gods or something? They combined into one name or something like that.
Yes,
or I forget.
and it was Ugaritic, right?
Yeah.
So this Elohim came from these Ugaritic myths. That was the father of Baal. And if you look into the Baal cycle, that was 1,000 years before the Bible, but they're using a lot of the epithets for Baal in Proverbs.
Yeah, and when you look at the El stuff, it leads to the On God list or the Anu God list. You know what I mean? And that has all those same gods in it. Just another pantheon, man. We've
Mm.
talked about this a bunch. Yeah, man, crazy shit, brother.
Jules, feel free to cook. I know you're pretty fucked up,
No,
but
man, I'm enjoying this conversation, dude. This is this stuff that makes you think.
I brought some gifts if you wanna bring up that.
I meant to bring that up, but you were cooking. I forgot to. Here we go. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
You're the producer. My bad. I should just let you do it. I don't know what I'm doing.
So this is the sign of Tanit, and Tanit was a Carthaginian goddess who was in charge of the human sacrifice. So this one is what they would put out in front of these, what they called toffets, where they had these big burial chambers for all the children's bodies, right? And so that marks them off. Well, let's see. I got more here because you'll find the seal of Tanit all over Carthage, and
we talked about. I think we talked about Tenet when we talked about Nergal and Io or Eiu.
Are you just saying things, dog?
No, this is the way you say it.
Io.
Yeah, no.
EIO.
EIO, there you go. Yeah, which is like a
Bingo was his name, dog.
Yeah, exactly.
It's EIO.
It's a strange combination of both the sounds that they make with other gods. So like there are pronunciations that they would use for Dionysus that were very similar to this.
Right.
And that's also another reason why the Gnostics called them donkeys, is because they would be praying and it'd sound like the braying of donkeys. Yow. And so they also got branded from the Gnostics saying,
"Wow, bro."
I took a deep dive on that donkey.
Man, I've looked into so much animal symbolism and never came across donkeys. I guess they keep it out of there for a reason. I don't know.
It's weird to attach donkey to Set though, because it's like I don't know.
Well, he was also kind of described as like an anteater as well, and a crocodile, with like leopard feet.
Set's been multiple things.
Yeah.
Like, huh. That's weird. I never heard donkey though.
Well, that's kind of like how Thoth is both described as an ibis bird and he's described as a baboon.
Yeah.
If you could pull up this next one here.
Yeah, I got you. Oh, dude, the fucking Vanderbilt, dude.
You recognize that goddess above them?
That's Astarte, right?
No, that's Tanit. Look at the body shape.
Tanit.
Look at the circle for the head. It's Tanit, and that is a person being burned alive inside that container right below her there. So you know that it's definitely related to that ancient one that was all about the
burning of Vanderbilts.
That's Anderson Cooper right
and
there.
his sacrificed brother. His brother was killed himself at 15.
That's fucking Anderson Cooper?
That's him right there on the right, Jose.
Yeah, I knew he came from big money.
His mom was a Vanderbilt.
Oh yeah, God, for sure.
Yeah, man. Look, why the fuck would you have that in your house, much less like your kid's room? Or maybe that was her room. That was
like this isn't even one of those ones that's debatable. Like you can okay, maybe like I could say like, oh, saying this is a specific goddess, you could be like, oh, you're taking liberties or something. No, there's no squirreling around that very clearly below whatever that central figure is. There is a body of some sort being burned, and like I don't understand any other way to understand that visual image.
I got another stele that's really perfect that shows all of these details perfectly, but I don't know if I have it on the right file type. But yeah, it's the same one. And what you'll notice is that the rough shape of Tanit always stands out. It's that triangle with the circle on top.
Mm-hmm.
Right? To me, that's an indicator of them actually getting in contact with this other dimensional being, because why would that be so rough? Like it's always rough cut everywhere you see it in the Carthaginian world, and there's absolutely no reason for it. They have incredible artistic abilities.
Right.
So you're meaning like the fact that it's more of a geometrical shape as opposed to something clear and concise. You're saying that means you're interpreting that as that means they had some sort of authentic interaction, and I don't know. I guess I'm trying to
It's like one of these geometric figures that you might see in one of these DMT trips.
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
yeah.
Because it's something you can't quite see clearly. It's because like no one can look upon the face of God, blah blah blah. It's like you come back from a trip and you're like, oh, well, I saw him, but I didn't really see him. The more you try to imagine, you can't really ever look upon the face of God. Essentially, that would be a way to look at it.
But
like,
you do get a voice. I guarantee you, they get a voice.
Huh.
I got another one here. You might like this one. Good, pull that up if you would. Oh, who's that?
Dude.
There we go. Right there.
And she has the headdress on too, with the what's that? A crescent moon above her.
Well, crescent moon below her in this one, but
can you zoom in on that, Jules? I don't know if you're able to on your computer.
I don't know if I'm able to.
I can just
Headless
kind
has
of
to
do
zoom in on it.
So, it's on his phone. Because I'm like, I don't know. I got to be honest. Where I'm seeing it right now, I got to get benefit of the doubt. It could be a lot of other things, but that's just because I can't really see it very well. So I got to be a little bit honest here, and not just go, whoa.
Yeah, but it's a very strong similarity. And if you
I'm just saying it's like for me right now, it's just small. I just can't really make it out. I'm just saying it could be.
Who's
other
that on
things.
the
But
left?
it definitely has
like a Hindu
shape.
goddess or something.
Yeah, maybe
Could
some
be.
other goddess.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's odd. Having the Pope's little room.
Which one's Mary?
Right.
They got a lot of them, don't they?
Yeah.
Huh. That's interesting.
And the Mary of Guadalupe is just a big vagina. If you've ever taken a close look at that.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird too, because when you get down to the deep levels of the Catholics, you get to some weird Opus Dei, what was like up to the gills in the Dutroux affair. I mean, we got there's so many like these weird, you got Knights of Malta's kind of weird too. Like there's these weird different. I don't know what's going on. It's
What
Mary
happened
worship.
to the Canaanite Phoenicians? What happened to them? They became this.
Right.
They were going after Rome. They got control of Rome forever. I mean, it's right there. Like all they had to do is change their name, change their brand, and they could spread it all over the world. They were the richest.
Huh.
Are
you
connected?
The black nobility bloodlines, basically.
To get ahead of you, are you kind of driving at behind all of this? There's some sort of goddess worship between I don't know, and it kind of influences multiple religions. I don't know.
The elites, these people from these bloodlines, they all have this ancient kind of magical tradition.
Mm-hmm.
All of them. That's coming through the bloodlines. They're closely related to these, much older rulers of these other civilizations than they are to us. And they've been that way forever. And if you track who's keeping track of all this stuff, you've got the Society of the Cincinnati in the United States. I mean, that was established in 1783. And they've been tracking these bloodlines ever since. Those were all the generals of the Revolutionary War. All of the officers got to partake in the Society of Cincinnati, and once you join for life. Every single president is automatically a member of the Society of the Cincinnati by becoming president. This thing is the ancestral military junta, which is exactly like what they had in Carthage.
Huh.
Wow.
I think there's something to this. This may sound silly, but I was just thinking about this. Someone says putting the pussy on a pedestal, and that may sound fucking retarded. But at the same time, there's something to that. You're like the idea of goddess worship, putting a pussy on a pedestal. I mean, what is pussy? Sex, life, fertility. Like, I don't know. There's so many different ways you could go symbolically with that. So it is
soul trap.
There's something to
the soul trap.
Yeah, the soul trap. A soul trap. Yeah, the pussy, a soul trap. Yeah, for real. That does check out. Like, yeah. I mean, what can ruin a man more than a woman? So like. Yeah.
It works on so many levels. I hate saying stuff like that because it gets stuck in people's heads.
Yeah. All right. Jeez. Man, that's a lot. Man, you got anything else to dig into, guys? I mean, anyone else want to join in from behind the, maybe we can throw
we have someone named Fear down in here.
Oh, Jesus Christ, dude. That's serious.
Fear, did you want to come on, man? Did you have any questions or anything you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, let us know if you guys want to come on in the private chat.
Here, I'm just gonna bring you on.
Yeah.
Fear, what's up, man?
All right, that was weird, Jules, making this awkward.
I think we're talking to a sewer.
I feel like I'm about to hear demonic voices.
No, I'm here. Like I'm having friggin' connection issues over here. Fucking audio and my videos all screwed
All
up.
right. We're gonna let you
Wait,
go,
let me figure
brother.
this out.
Yeah,
The
if
only
you
reason
figured
why I was
out,
asking about
okay.
Melchizedek is because like Abraham, he paid homage to him, and that's where all the like the pyre sacrifices, like it started way before that. So that I was just asking that question, like where does it pay homage to? Was it Melchizedek or was it Abraxas? Which came first? Was it Baal, whatever you want to call him?
Can you mute whatever else you got going there? It's coming over.
Yeah,
I'm trying
yeah.
to be a dick. Yeah, sorry.
You're good. No worries.
Yeah.
But yeah, Abraxas, and I'm a researcher as well. I do what you guys do. I don't know if y'all know Rebirth of the Word, that he's my partner or whatnot.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
We do a lot of stuff like this, and this is just up my alley. And like, yeah. So goes back to the question: was it Melchizedek or was it Abraxas? Like, where does all the sacrifice come into play? Who is it going to?
Well, I think, Abraxas came from the Gnostics, but Melchizedek, that was like the first mystery school, in my opinion. Like when it comes to like, the ancient Kabbalah and stuff like that. Kabbalah, what's up, Fear?
What's going on?
Kabbalah mysticism and stuff. That later leads into Freemasonry and Rosicrucianism. So I don't know, man. I don't know what came first. What do you think, Headless?
Well, actually, real quick, you're muted, by the way, Headless.
Muted,
but
brother.
I want to redirect that real quick because me and Austin are going to be kind of spiraling on Abraxas for a little while. Abraxas or Abraxas, depending on how you want to refer to it. Yeah, I mean, depending, or Abraxas or Abraxas, depending on which interpretation you take. And there's just so much there. I mean, it's God. And Austin, do you have any thoughts on this? Because I know me and you have been digging into it. We started a Dutro Affair series, and I know we're getting ready to probably spiral around Abraxas for a while because that is one of the entities.
The Abraxas order.
Yeah, and it kind of weirdly seems to tie into Processian church ideas because the concept of the Abraxas is like one of the many symbols of it is the concept of like kind of like it's one of the many symbols of dualism. Or so this is where you get like the process with Jesus and Satan. So that's actually like Abraxas many times is interpreted by some people as some sort of like mixture of God and Satan or good and evil or something like that. And he's
composite
supposed to be,
creature. That's why. It's
he's supposed to represent.
It's
very Jungian. It's very Jungian in the sense of like incorporating your shadow self, that kind of concept. Which there's probably positive things to be derived from that idea. But if you dig into our type of work and you also maybe think about the sinister undertones about something like that, what that could possibly fucking mean, pretty scary to think about. But it's interesting that there was literally, and you tie this back to the process, the idea of dualism. I found out a while back that the Church of Abraxas or whatever, Abraxas or whatever, in Belgium, that was kind of tied to the Dutro Affair. It was also called something like the Church of the Celestial Christ or something like that. So they're playing off of both motifs, evil and like or whatever, like the satanic motif, and off this like Christian motif. And I don't know. Then this somehow then ties back into Set with some of the concepts of Set, because I believe Abraxas also is like ties a lot into the psyche, and then I know Set is like kind of comes into like self, and so there's so much that these different things kind of spiral amongst each other, and so you're like, what the fuck is going on here between these confluence of different entities, and like I don't know, it almost feels like the deep dark elite are trying to speak to us there, because especially when I look at through the nexus of the Dutro Affair, you're like, what the fuck is going on there? Because you see so much like it reminds you of a lot of Processian stuff. Obviously, how do you miss the Set, the Temple of Set monarch type connections, like, and then they have this cult of Abraxas. So you're like, what is going on here? Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, when they raided that cult headquarters in Belgium, right, where the
by the way, Fear, I'm gonna mute you, and just if you come back on, just make sure, just realize you're muted, just because it's comes over loud. You got like a background noise or something. So sorry, but go on.
Nah, I'm just it's interesting because whenever they did raid that location of the headquarters of the Abraxas sect and the high priestess and in the order, who's sitting there communicating with Bernard Weinstein, right? Who's obviously procuring children for the network, for the larger network that's being. Honestly, it seems like Michelle Nihul was a larger part of the network as far as ordering many of the abductions, but still, you have like human skulls being found with computer disks and jars of blood, very similar to that of the finders, right? If you think of that, and the execution of Henrietta and Igor, the goats, which they had a whole binder of how the children were like, oh no, what was the excuse that they were animal
Jules, look down.
husbandry.
Not Jules. Austin, look down.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Charles Manson, of course. Hey, I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, I'm not at all surprised because you see these very similar, overlapping threads that thread, particularly into a lot of these scandalous events over recorded history, especially recent, as far as the occult connotations and this strange occult influence, it stems all throughout history, but it's still like the fact that it's still so prominent. Obviously, it's to kind of reinforcing the point of what we were just discussing, right? Which is just this very obvious occult, ideological doctrine that's being pursued at a level of that seems to be, deliberate deception is how they sort of like exercise their philosophy. It's kind of strange, but it very much seems to be cloak and dagger, and at every level they're attempting to get us subconsciously at a frequency where we're participating, but we're not fully aware. You know what I mean? At least the average person who seems to be, who wouldn't be, as far as that lifestyle and philosophical framework, it wouldn't necessarily be appealing to them, right? But still, it's strange to me because there's not a duality within the philosophy of the process. It's more of like three subgroups that were legitimately pursued, as far as the Jehovah's, the Luciferians, and the Satanists, which is very interesting to me because the Jehovah's were obviously the Puritans of the sect, and you have the Satanists, who are, well, the Luciferians seem to be more about like sexual orgy and the free use of narcotics, and then you have like the Satanists, who are very obviously pursuing the ritualistic, practice of worshiping Satan, and the worst, let's say they're practicing black magic, right? Which it's clearly malevolent in every form.
Yeah.
And I think that's the distinction, where like you look at some of these. Go ahead, bud.
I was gonna say the left-hand path kind of magicians like Crowley and stuff like that, which is like the worship of self, like the gaining of
right. Aquino too, right? The Temple of Set was the divine spark or whatever, right? The black flame of human intellect, which is just very much
of woo-woo for no woo-woo, really.
Yeah, man.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, but it's fascinating how often these strange occult deities continue to resurface,
rebrand and resurface, dude. You keep
exactly,
finding it.
buddy. Yeah, it's fascinating shit, man. Blows my mind, but I'm not at all surprised.
Yeah, and the Abraxas side of things too. It also ties into, I guess he's supposed to. It gets into like really deep into like I believe like kind of gematria type stuff, or the numbers. People like how the number. I guess something to do with that comes into the days of the year. So he's supposed to represent the days of the year.
365, yeah.
Yes, it's like 365. Yeah. So he's supposed to represent every day of the year, and it's supposed to be something like every day is a separate aspect of him or something. There's different ways there's different understandings of it, but it's supposed to be like super high level like. And you got to think when you get into the numbers and stuff and the days, and then that kind of comes into the positions of the planets. Dude, and this gets into top level like occult shit.
Right. But why would the high priestess of the Abraxas cult in where was it? It was in Forty-la-Marche or some shit in Belgium, and in Charleroi. But it was in either way, it doesn't matter. The point being is that Anubis, the ancient Egyptian god, was the assumed name of the high priest of the Abraxas sect or Abrasax sect. Why? It's, you know what I mean? It's like go ahead, bud.
If you think about the experiences with those two groups that you're talking about today, so let's say First off, there's lots of different depictions of Abraxas, but the one that I like the most is the lion with the snake body, right? You've got that version, you've got the cock version, right? But the one that seems to come up over and over again is the one with the lion-headed snake. And people actually have witnessed this stuff. So there was a guy doing not parapsychology, but he was doing psychology inside of a prison. I forget the guy's name, but he comes on these podcasts now and then, and he was talking about how one of the victims of schizophrenia.
Oh my God. Sorry, not to cut you off, but sperm. I
Right.
don't know if that's where you're getting at.
Wow.
Go ahead. Sorry.
That's a great example. I mean, if you think about the snake symbolism from ancient times, you've got
Sexual
all of that
energy.
working in there, right? So 666 is like the rising of male energy. So that's related to Abraxas as well. But there are people schizophrenics who actually witness Abraxas that they have no idea exists coming to them. And so to me, it sounds like whatever this entity is, it's still active very much on, current times and not just back then. Just people don't have the vocabulary for it. They don't know what they're looking at.
That sounds like some worm pilled shit, dude. That's what that sounds like. If you're talking about a lion with a snake body, that sounds like a parasite, doggy. That sounds like we're going full on worm pill world. Like,
Yeah,
I'm here for it.
we've been there before.
Think about what disease used to be. It used to be demons that were afflicting you. And so all of this parasite and virus stuff, it has these characteristics of transmuting or changing and becoming other things and infecting people. It's very demonic if you think about it.
Yeah.
It's all chimeric. It's all chimeric compared to back to the Hindu, all the temples you see combinations of animals. It's chimeric.
Yeah.
Especially today. I think it was Dick Cheney that said that the next great threat will be race-specific bioweapons, like he was advertising.
Oh, the shit RFK got mad about or got in trouble for? You were talking with the whole COVID vaccines? Yeah. No. There's nothing weird going on with the Jews and the pokey pokes they got over there. Nothing weird at all.
By the way, did you? This is so crazy because after that just happened with obviously with RFK Jr. coming out and kind of obviously making the statement that COVID vaccines are no longer recommended for pregnant women and which, hey man, no matter how compromised he might be by Israel and some sort of sexual blackmail operation, that's a step in the right direction. Although I do still feel like big pharma is kind of reaping all the benefits of the just of course consider how many people are obviously very much you cannot be in the political system without being compromised to a certain level by big pharma, right? Yeah, so it's just a reality that we have to address. But at the same time, it's like, what do you see? The rise of this new variant that they're claiming, right, is wreaking havoc on China and is now effectively spreading through the U.S. and that we need to, what is it, the COVID variant NB181? I think that's what CBS News says. So we have new symptoms, new booster vaccine and restrictions. You have people who are legitimately calling for obvious restrictions, which is just ridiculous to me. But still, when by the way, dude, check out what RFK Jr. used to say back in the day, which you consider this the deadly immunity, thimerosal connection, right? To how thimerosal is this basically a mercury-based preservative, right? Which people, this is fucking 2005 when this happened, right? And the Daily Mail, I pulled it up actually, and I pulled up the original deadly immunity article because it's an article that RFK Jr. penned back in July 14th of 2005, and it was originally published in the Rolling Stone, and then within 24 hours it was pulled. It was published on salon.com as well, but within that 24 to 48 hour period you had legitimate coverage of this, which is this is only 2005, and see how much the mainstream media has shifted. And then also consider the fact that this article, right, obviously was based on this 2000 Simpson-Wood CDC conference, where you had these claims of thimerosal containing vaccines causing autism. And you have CDC officials who are legitimately like addressing this, acknowledging this on the record. Of course, it was meant to be off the record, but it's very interesting. And again, it's something that I think like people don't quite realize the fact that a lot of this has been, effectively acknowledged over time. And it's legitimately been like we've had CDC officials blow the whistle. They 100% believe that obviously we have thimerosal, mercury-based preservatives that were in the vaccines, and this is back as far back as like 1930s. You know what I'm saying? And you consider the rise in the vaccine's childhood schedule in 1989 and the rise in autism that's directly linked to that. CDC wasn't even effectively acknowledged, or as far as like the CDC and government organizations, they didn't effectively acknowledge autism until post 1930s, whenever this began to evolve after these mercury-based preservatives were placed into these vaccine schedules. It's so crazy. But anyway, just real quickly, check this out, because it's
my son, born in 1991. Has a slight form of autism called Asperger's. But it seems, and again, when I was practicing law, and also when I was in Congress, parents would constantly come to me, and they'd bring me videotapes of their children, and they were all around the age of my son or younger.
The generation,
something happened in 1989.
Exactly. The generation, what happened was the vaccine schedule was increased. We went up from receiving about 10 vaccines in our generation to these kids received 24 vaccines, and they all had this thimerosal in them, this mercury, and nobody bothered to do an analysis of what the cumulative impact of all that mercury was doing to kids. As it turns out, we are injecting our children with 400 times the amount of mercury that FDA or EPA considers safe. A child on his first day that he's born is injected with a hepatitis B shot. Under EPA guidelines, he would have to be 275 pounds to safely absorb that shot.
And yet we're just constantly pumping our kids with these vaccines.
Right, and what happened was that in 1988, 1 in every 2,500 American children had autism. Today, 1 in every 166 children have autism, and plus 1 in 6 children have other kinds of learning disorders, other kinds of neurological disorders, speech delay, language disorders, ADD, hyperactivity, that all seem to be connected, that are all connected, the science shows are all connected to autism.
You know, Bobby, what we've always found, you and I could debate 1,000 different issues, whether it's Terry Schiavo or the environment. I think would agree on the environment. But in this case, you've got the federal government coming in saying, well, there's no good science. And of course, in politics, science always gets diluted. Why hasn't the federal government stepped up and worked more? Because listen, Bobby, I can't prove it tonight. You can't prove it. But intuitively, you look at the spike, you look at what happened with the thimerosal, there is no doubt in my mind, maybe it's 2 years from now, maybe it's 5 years from now, maybe it's 10 years from now, we're going to find out that the thimerosal causes, in my opinion, autism.
You know what?
Damn, dog. I will say that's crazy, right?
I gotta say real quick, that makes me hate Joe Scarborough even more.
Yeah. Doesn't it? Doesn't it?
Because
he just
sellout piece of trash.
Right. That is the way of the world with the media, my friend.
Well, it's like we were talking earlier with Piers Morgan, and a lot of the other talking heads now, kind of like, oh, I think there's a genocide. You're like, dude, you were the one. Like, Piers was the one when this first jumped off, taking all these people onto his platform and going, oh, but do you condemn Hamas? Do you condemn Hamas? Do you that was the first thing you would ask any of them, and you're like, dude, what the fuck is this? And now he's the one going, oh, this is a genocide. And you're like, well, in a certain sense, you're like, I'm glad, but it's keep in mind who these characters are. So
it's just shameless.
Look at this shit.
Oh my god!
Look at these pieces of shit. King BB.
Yeah.
And this is legitimately Dan Cohen, right? There's a bizarre fascist cult around Benjamin Netanyahu, whom some Israelis see as a messianic figure selected by God to lead the Zionist genocide. This BBist cult member is preparing to enter Gaza to commit ritual murder.
So I think it's very important to note that, because if America gets dragged into a war with Iran, that will be correct. It will be correct. And that's what they're hoping. I mean, how many rabbis do you need to hear saying over and over again, there will be no America, there will be no America?
Right.
They mean
Edom will be wiped out.
They mean it.
I think we'll be successful in avoiding that, but I do think they want it. But I do think, as I've been saying, I mean, I'll be well, my perspective is still pretty fucking black pilled, as I just laid out. I think I've laid out pretty. It's not great either. I just think we're gonna avoid the Iran catastrophe.
I hope
but in
so,
exchange,
dude.
I think that Israel is gonna kind of finesse us into probably getting their final solution, possibly. So, but that's not great either.
There had to have been a backdoor dealings where it's like, pivot, give me Iran.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm not saying that is what it's just
you're thinking the inverse, like we'll let the Gazans go, but we get Iran.
No, it's
you
like
hear something
we
sick?
already got the Gazans.
Oh, okay.
You want to hear something sick?
Right? That's what they think. What's that?
So my dad was over in Israel back in the 1970s, and there was a rabbi there who was talking to him about the Holocaust, and he said that there were 1/3 of the Jewish population had to be wiped out, just like in the Book of Prophecies.
Man.
So they're kind of hoping for it, I think.
It means burnt offering.
It's the pole.
Why is it an offering? An offering to whom?
Right.
All right, guys. You guys ready to get out of here? I think we had a great time. Is there anything major you guys want to hit on?
500 people watching. Like, let's fucking go, man.
I mean, some of those are made up numbers.
No,
but,
it's real.
It's up there.
It's real.
Some of those are Twitter numbers.
I gotta say that it's so very obvious that Israel would do whatever it takes to justify a conflict with Iran. And, I kind of feel like after we witnessed what happened in October 7th, come on. Like, what are they not willing to do? And this is the protocols of the learned elders of Zion. This is the potential reality of a theory that might be far more plausible, that seems to state that there is an elite sect of Jews that are far more willing than you would ever be willing, be able to comprehend. They are far more willing to sacrifice as many Jews as necessary in order to essentially create a pretext. And that's basically come to fruition. You know what I mean? And we're at this very moment, we're kind of witnessing this play out. And so in my mind, I do believe that the vast majority of this shift in the message, shift in the narrative is by design. It's coordinated deception. It's very much just an attempt to placate the revolutionary class, as is always the case in my mind. And so when they are forced to reckon with the fact that they have committed an all-out genocide and in real time, and that there's an actual natural reaction to this, fuck them. Fuck the narrative, fuck the smoke and mirrors. We gotta once and for all decide for ourselves. The deception is too thick. The fog of war is layered around us. We gotta see through it.
Absolutely.
And fuck Israel, man. That's all I'm saying. And
Hey,
fuck
Fear,
the war with Iran.
Fear,
Right.
you trying to say something? I see you keep
Yeah.
trying to cut in. What's that?
I was gonna say thank, because I got to take off. But I was gonna say thank you for bringing me on the show, and been a great conversation. However, I agree with you, Austin. Like this, whether it be biblical or not, everything it's a big fucking playbook. It's all right there. It's right in front of everyone's face. Like I don't know why people can't see it, and I'm sure I share the same sentiment to anybody else, but it's been in front of our faces our whole lives. Like it's a big fucking playbook. Just read the damn book. Everyone says the Bible's important. It is. The playbook's right in front of your face. Read it. But thank you for bringing me on. Like it's been a great conversation.
Hell yeah, come on again sometime. We'll let you go. Headless, you want to give some sort of plug or something along those lines? A goodbye, things like.
You can check me out on Thursdays. I've got a mailbag show. People send me their occult experiences. So that's going to be around 7:30 Central. And I also have a trialogue show on Sunday, which is me and two other dudes who talk about philosophical things. So check that out.
Oh yeah, thanks for joining us, brother. Jules.
Guys, Gray Pill Pod on X, Gray Pill _ podcast on Instagram whenever I post over there. Rumble, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Patreon. We're watching Twin Peaks on Patreon right now. Season 1. We're doing episodes 3 and 4. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe try to get one in tonight. I'm not promising anything, but definitely this week, look out for that. Also, Elohim Etymologies, go straight to there. We do our esoteric book reviews on Patreon. So yeah, come over there and hang out with us. Also on Locals as well. And got stickers, guys. I'm sending those out to the patrons this week. Just gotta get some stamps. And go buy some Already Dead merch. TopLobster.com.
Let's fucking go.
Hell yeah, buddy.
Austin, baby boy.
It's a great show, guys.
Dude.
Thank you. I try.
No, okay.
All I know is that I can't believe I forgot to legitimately cover this.
The aquatic cum robots.
No, not the aquatic cum robots, but the Putin assassination attempt.
Yeah. Well, we mentioned in passing, although we didn't go into it.
I know, but I do think that it's crazy, and it's very important that people understand what is playing out. So, and for sure to realize that there is potentially, a plausible reality where Trump, just as most of these political puppets, are very much kept in the dark. They're the faces of the policy positions. They're not necessarily meant to actually really influence anything in a direction where they see fit individually. Nah, man, this is not how the system is structured. They are effectively insulated from any real accountability, and that includes the structure of government itself, which is basically the idea, of this overall individualistic kingpin that has the deciding factor in terms of policy itself. So that is very self-evident in the context of this interesting story. So definitely look into that. If otherwise, I'll bring it to the table later, but it is interesting. And beyond that, you guys know the Underclass podcast. That's definitely the best place to support me is Patreon. And I'll finally get to kind of prioritize.
Follow him on Rumble.
Yeah, follow me on Rumble for sure.
We say a lot of wild stuff about Jews, so definitely follow us on Rumble. This whole episode was mostly Jews, guys. So definitely follow us on all the audio podcatchers. Definitely don't want to lean too hard on YouTube. I wouldn't even lean too hard on Rumble, from my understandings of kind of you really get down to the bare bones of that.
Dude, head of Rumble, right? He was up there with Peter Thiel at the Trump
Exactly.
administration, swearing go fuck yourself.
That feels like one of those dominoes that's ready to fall at some point. When that is, I don't know. Is this the moment? What's up, Pistolero? What it do, doggy? Well, all right, guys, we're going to get out of here. But if you want to support what I'm doing, you can leave a like, share, subscribe, comment, 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. Those are all actions you can take without spending a buck. You can also follow me on Twitter at TowerGangJose. Be my eyes and ears out there for my morning show. I cover stuff regularly. There's so many different threads of crazy things going on in the world that it helps to have you guys, keeping an eye out for me. So let me know. I'll, probably about half the stuff I cover in the morning show is usually from you guys. But if you want to directly support the show in the best way possible, that's with money. That's over at patreon.com/NoWayJose2020. Obviously, if you can't afford it, please don't take care of your own first. But let's be real, it's $2. I mean, who can't afford $2? So the lowest level, at the lowest level of the $2, you get the early access to episodes. I usually keep about 4 behind the paywall at a time. Do 1 to 2 a week. I think I have 5 right now. I mean, I have some bangers behind the paywall right now. I have 2 episodes digging into new Wendy painting research. I have a Dutroux Affair series. I have a Waco episode that still hasn't dropped. It's going to drop soon. I have another live reading of Hoppa. It's got a lot of shit, and then also I got you get with the $2, you also get an ad-free RSS feed. You also get priority for the call-ins for this. You also get to hang out with us in the pre-show, and a lot of times you guys, our patrons, like to hang out there, and they also like to hang out in the private chat too. So you get all that at the $2 level. And the highest is my sponsors. I read them off every episode as a big thank you. And my co-host and Terra Gang at Terra Gang Toad, also at ApplegateDs at ZOVRACK, at _Finzeal, Tim Tuttle at John Klebold, and Will Bell's Delicious Blueberry Rabbit Eye Wine, the big fan of the show, Torme, and then at INWARD Lover. Yeah, if you guys are going to want to get a product, you can go over to doeshavecode.com, use Jose at checkout for 10% off. And yeah, guys, we'll see you a week from now. Obviously, you can pop in. I don't know if I'm doing a morning show tomorrow, but if I am, it'll be later. So keep an eye out. Make sure you hit the bell for notifications on my shit, and that way you'll see. I usually go live most mornings at 10 a.m., most weekday mornings. So keep an eye out. Tomorrow's iffy, so we'll see. But with that, guys, appreciate when you showed up. We're out of here.
Later, guys.
Bye-bye.